All right, and we are live.
Accessibility ain't just for those with disabilities. Makes the world better for everyone, online as well as in person. Hello, ladies and gentlemen. I am the blind blogger Maxwell Ivy, and this is the Accessibility Advantage. And yes, you heard my guest on the intro because StreamYard still hasn't fixed the alert telling me I'm going live. This is the Accessibility Advantage, where I advocate for more accessibility for and inclusion of people with disabilities by emphasizing the many positive benefits instead of focusing on the negatives of compliance, regulation, lawsuits, and negative publicity. And the podcast is sponsored or helped out by the people at Blubbery. They're my hosting company, as they like to say. It's blueberry without the ease.com. And I include a link to them, which is also an affiliate link in case one of y'all is looking for new hosting for an existing podcast or ready to start your own podcast. They also provide hosting to several other shows hosted by people with disabilities or that have a focus on the disability community. So I do hope you will check them out and tell them how much we appreciate them. And I am part of the advisory board for podmatch.com, where I generally find most of my great guests. If you're hosting a podcast, you definitely need to be part of that network and community. So I do hope you'll check out podmatch.com. And just one last thing before I get to my guest, I was recently named one of the top 20 podcasts by millionpodcast.com in the area of universal design. And I'm not quite sure how they picked that. I know that it was a lot of it was the computers figure out who's posting about what, but that's not what I would have picked for my first award category. But we'll take it because we're always happy to be a leader in the area of accessibility. So today, I'm going to be speaking with Lauren Harris, and she is a uh, strategic marketer and also the co-founder of Reliable PR and Marketing. She has an MS in marketing, strategic marketing from Northeastern University, and she has over 7 years experience providing remarkable results to her marketing clients. Um, she believes that most marketing problems are not marketing problems. They are simply strategy problems masquerading as marketing problems. And so she helps founders uh, go away from tactics and move towards implementing real strategies so that they can see the kind of growth in their businesses that they wanted when they started with their big idea. You can find her at reliablepr.net. There's also a link I'm going to include because she likes to make it easy for y'all to connect with her and have a conversation, and that will be in the show description. So, Lauren, thank you so much for coming on the podcast. I look forward to hearing more about you and having a great discussion on accessibility and marketing and branding.
Yes, thank you so much for having me. I'm excited to be here and to talk about everything that we're going to go through and just to share what I've learned with the world.
Well, I appreciate it. That's exactly the kind of conversations we look forward to on the accessibility advantage. We're heavy story here. We're lovers of tangents because even a tangent can have value as long as the person leading us on it has experience in the area. So I would love it if you would tell people a little bit about yourself and your and how you got to this point in your marketing career, because this wasn't your original intent, as I understand it. And I think you've had some similar experiences with me, especially in the area of how much you learned about being a person, being a woman of quality from your father.
Yes, yes. So my core development really, I was an army brat, and so I grew up. I'm born and raised on the army base, and we lived all over. We went overseas. We adapted to different, you know, different cultures and different languages and all of that. But I really, really heavily saw, you know, what I needed to be as a human being from my father, and he always he always instilled the importance of integrity and doing the right thing when no one's watching, and just being a good person who stands for something. And then of course, after I turned 18, well, actually around 16, we moved off base for the first time, and it was a very different world than I had ever experienced before. And I didn't know what to do or what was going on, basically. And then I decided to go to college, and so I studied English, and because I loved English, and I always admired what my father did with his life, but I just knew that I wasn't as brave as he was, right? And so I was trying to figure out what I was going to do, but I wanted it to have some purpose. And so I did English, and I did journalism, and journalism was great, but I was the type of journalist who found the stories that the people that they were about did not really want told. And so I very quickly made some enemies with every story I told, and so that was taking a difficult route. And then I decided I really wanted to learn, I wanted to be able to help people and help them understand what they were doing. And so I decided to start studying marketing. And I've always felt like I've been a marketing person because, in the military, it's very much about making sure that your family is solid, and you are presenting well, and how you look. And then it was also sort of the moving around aspect, and who are you here, and how do you fit in, and what does that look like. But then as I got into marketing, I really, really was just enthralled with the amount of understanding people that it takes, and understanding who it is that you're trying to help and what you're trying to do. So I did all of that. And then after I graduated, I had my daughter, and I was a stay-at-home mom and loved that. But then as she got older and needed me a little bit less, I started getting a little bit stir crazy. I needed to do something with all of this thinking that I had that I couldn't stop. And so my husband actually said, well, I came up with the idea for Reliable PR in my final semester at Northeastern. We had to make a fake business and market it and make the website and the socials. And I just thought, why not a marketing agency? And so that's actually where Reliable PR came from. But it had a very long name. It was Reliable PR and Social Media. And so that got honed down over the years then to and marketing. Now we really just say Reliable PR. But yeah, and then he saw that I was loving it, but I needed support. And so he quit his job as a social worker and went all in the business with me. And now we have employees and a team, and we do all of this. But the reason that I have been doing these podcasts and trying to get out and speak to people is because we do marketing different than most marketing agencies that we have run into. And marketing agencies have a rough reputation out there, because a lot of agencies will have high retainers, and then they will execute, and they'll get the job done, but that's about it. And what we do differently is we learn the business, we learn who it's there to help, and then we learn the people that it's there to help and how to reach them. And that's why I say so often that oftentimes it's not a marketing problem, it's a strategy problem, because marketing is something you can successfully check off as executed. If you are showing up where you need to, if you are updating what you need to, if you are doing what you need to, you can mark it off as completed. But you can mark it off as completed and still see no growth, still see no resonation with your audience. And that's why it's really about what you're doing, who you're talking to, how you're talking to them, and what you're saying through all of that action in marketing that really holds the most weight over everything. And then with the rise of AI, I've gotten even more passionate about it and had to start talking about it to everybody that I know, because now I just see it being blasted at a scale of new proportions, and it is just not, it's driving business owners crazy, because it's not working. And I'm trying to help people understand why it's not working, because marketing isn't just posting or coming up with the right tagline or those things. It's about understanding the people that your business is there for and talking to them in a way that they will feel like understood and heard.
That kind of sounds like the way I feel about, and the way many people in the disability community feel about accessibility, and that you can do it as a compliance issue where you check a box, and you can do it technically sound, but still not be creating truly enjoyable, usable, accessible content. And then also, when it comes to AI, I've been quoted as saying AI is helping business owners create inaccessibility at scale. And I'm a little nervous that one of these days, one of the AI companies is going to come to my house and go, "What are you telling people?" So there are some similarities there, even though we are in fairly different fields for the most part.
Yeah. I totally know what you're saying, though. They are, and one problem that I think AI has is that it will disagree, but it will inherently agree with the user. And so if they are getting positive feedback about what they are doing, they will agree with what you are saying as well. And I have noticed a minor shift, especially with, like, platforms like Claude, where they are putting in, their own opinion. But I think the problem with AI is that if it can find any reason or any surefire, like, validation for your claim, then it will support you. And so it will support you in believing that you are doing all that you can for your audience, for accessibility, for whatever it is that you are trying to accomplish. It will tell you you are doing everything you can be doing. And you'll be confused as to why people are frustrated. And I think that's the biggest thing, is that, AI is great. It is amazing. It is a useful asset, but it is just that. It is an asset. It is not a human. It is not a replacement of your brain. It is not a replacement of your intuition or that little voice in the back of your head that's telling you what they're telling you. It may tell you whatever it is you need to hear to shush it down, but you still have to think, and you still have to think strategically, and think about the people that you are doing what you're doing for, not just what you're hoping to get out of it.
Right. And that what you were talking about, where it will make you feel like you are doing everything right. Well, one of the most frustrating things you can live with is the feeling that you're doing everything right and still failing.
Yes, exactly. Because you just can't figure out why. And that's what I have been seeing with so many business owners, is that, you know, what I'm trying to explain to people is that you have to, like, you are a consumer yourself. And so you have to take yourself out of this footsteps of the business owner, or the one who is, risking it, or your goals, or whatever your position is. And you have to remember what it's like to just be a consumer, to just be a human, to just have needs, to just have, desires and struggles, and all of those things. And you have to remember that you are talking to other people with whole lives, with struggles, and, successes, and all of these things, when you are doing what you're doing, to make sure that you don't come across as, detached, or, like you don't care, or it's very easy to get caught up in trying to do everything, that you can quickly lose that human touch. And that is the most important thing, I think. Now more than ever, it is the most important thing, because it is what sets you apart from other, you know businesses, or other, efforts that are not doing that. Because before, everything was based in someone's action, someone's idea, someone's thought, someone's words. And now it is what can set you apart from everybody else, is remembering that that is the most important.
Yeah, I'm starting to see people writing posts along those lines, that the the similarity inherent in AI is just making people's voices stand out even more. And it reminds me of a conversation I had with my editor of my books a few years ago, Lorraine Regularly at wordingwell.com. I told her I was thinking of hiring somebody to start writing my blog posts for me. And she said, Max, you have such a unique voice. By the time you train somebody to write the way you talk, they'd be quitting. You know,
Yeah.
it just would take too much time to teach somebody. And I kind of feel like that's the way it is with AI, that there's no way AI is going to be able to replicate my voice. Now, it may be able to replicate my formula as far as
Hmm.
how I generally communicate things, the order, things like that. But as far as my voice, I don't see it, and I'm glad to see more and more people saying that, AI just makes uh, reality more valuable. Kind of like how if you want to impress somebody nowadays, you get their address and you send them an actual physical letter as opposed to an email kind of a thing.
Exactly. Yeah. And I think it's also important to understand the risk that it is that now, you can train them to sound like you or to use, the same verbiage or the same tone and all those things, but also the risk that you have in losing that originality, in losing that individuality that is yours by giving it to, you know, AI and allowing them to represent you. And I think that's sort of a struggle that the entire industry is dealing with, is wanting to be able to use this tool, but also not ever wanting to allow this tool to take over or have too much control over, your brand or your image or your forward facing, how you appear to the public. And that's the biggest thing is, automations and all of that, they hold a lot of risk because it doesn't matter if AI wrote it. If it's your name is what will be tarnished, not, the AI platform that wrote it. It will be you who will deal with the consequences. And I think a lot of business owners are experiencing that. They're taking these ideas, they're, letting them be posted, they're letting these phrases go out. They, are letting AI take, the entirety of their image. And then, if something doesn't sit right with their audience, or if something is misinterpreted, or if something like that, they still are the only ones dealing with those consequences. And that's why it's so important to remember that, AI is a great tool and it's good for brainstorming, and it has its wins, but you have to make sure that you are in control of everything that is going out about your business, and also that you are genuinely thinking about how other people are going to interpret what it is that you're putting out there.
That's an interesting point. I don't think I've heard anybody talk anywhere about the risk that you create by turning over your agency, turning over your name, image, and likeness type information to AI. And that's a very important subject, and I'm glad you're talking about it. And it kind of reminds me of how if you're driving in an autonomous car, you're going to be the one that'll pay the ticket or go to jail if something bad happens while you're not actually paying attention to where the car is going.
Yes, exactly. Or if the car gets in an accident, you are the one who is going to deal with those consequences. And it's when it comes to like your marketing or your brand or your image, and the words that you're using and the phrases that you're putting out there, and what you're saying, that is just the same, just as course not as, legitimately, physically dangerous, but it is just as damaging. Because if you allow a bunch of things to go out and someone questions it, and you don't really know how to explain what you meant, you didn't mean what they're saying, but you don't really know how to explain like what you did mean that wasn't that, because you didn't really come up with it or think about it that much.
Yeah, I think I understand what you're saying. Kind of like my experience with the podcast host who heard me talk about AI and came to the conclusion of AI as inaccessibility at scale. You can be communicating things through Claude. There could be a misunderstanding, and a concept or an idea or a tagline could go out into the world, and you wouldn't even know enough about it to explain what was wrong about it, and to be able to answer to how you're going to fix the mess that you created by depending too heavily on AI.
Yeah, and that comes from a lot of my PR training. So we do a lot of marketing, but we do a lot of PR as well. And PR, we do a lot of crisis communication. And crisis communication, there are different tactics for, handling a crisis. But one of those, and the main one that you return to, is, you know, explaining, what the true intention was, explaining what you truly meant, explaining your side of things that has been misinterpreted. And so if you don't know what you were trying to say, or what you meant, all you know is that you didn't mean what they said, you didn't mean
Right.
how they took it,
Yeah.
then you don't have that. And also it takes away that layer of sort of caution that you have when you do everything yourself, when you come up with the phrases yourself, when it's going through you to begin with. You have a human instinct that AI doesn't have, to think, well, I know what this means and I know how I mean it, but I know, these three ways that it could be taken differently. Maybe add another word, maybe rephrase this a little bit. It takes away that level of just sort of like the final approval before it launches. You take that out of it when you are not actively thinking it through, and really putting your all into it. And that little window right there has kept a lot of things from going live, and it has saved a lot of businesses from, you know situations that they just were like, this seems like this could potentially be problematic. Maybe change it a little bit so it takes out that room for misinterpretation.
Right. And so this is really good timing because earlier today, Claude was telling me that if I wanted it could connect directly to my social media accounts and post things for me. So, and I
Ooh,
actually thought, well, I do get behind on my social media, but now that I'm talking to you, I realize that that's just not smart. I need to keep checking Claude's work as if it's my work, because trust me, I have to check my own work too. So I'm talking to Lauren Harris from Reliable PR and Marketing. You can find her at reliablepr.net. So I'd love for you to talk a little bit more about the difference between strategy and tactics in marketing, and then off of that, where you feel like accessibility comes into play as far as marketing and branding, whether it's strategy or tactics or a little of both.
definitely. Okay, so we'll first start with the difference between strategy and tactics. So tactics are actionable, like I'm saying the wrong thing. Let's restart. Strategies and tactics differ because tactics are actionable movements. They are making a post and posting. They are coming up with a rebrand and rebranding. They are the act of doing something, updating your website, updating your Google, doing a PR campaign. A tactic is an action, and a strategy is the intention behind stringing together those tactics. So, a strategy is the understanding of why you're doing it, how you're doing it, and the way that you're doing it. And the tactic is simply the execution of the task. And so when you string the two together, you have to find the right tactics for your strategy. And so you put the strategy together. What does the business need, or what does the person need? Who are their target audiences? What do they need? Where are they? And then, what is the outcome goal here? And then you go to the long list of tactics and you string together the places you need to be, the frequency, the places to show up, what needs updating, and how to make that strategy successful. Now, when it comes to accessibility is more important. It has always been essential, just on a human level, on a good person level, but it has shifted into more more important than ever before, because what you've experienced in today's world. Before, you were only able to only the only people who knew about your business were the ones who knew you, knew people who knew your business, who were nearby, who were in your area, who saw something you put out there, were people who were in some connection to you in some way. With social media and with the rise of technology and all of that, you now have the it's both the opportunity and the responsibility of making it so that your business is correctly interpreted by anyone who comes across it that you may never get an opportunity to speak to. And so, making sure that you are accessible and that you are meeting people where they are, and that you are giving everyone room to accurately interpret your who you are as a business owner, and what you care about, and what your values are, and why you do what you do without ever getting a chance to speak to you, is the biggest opportunity, because you can reach more people than ever before. But it's also a very big responsibility to make sure that everything that's going out is representing you in a way that you would like to be represented, because at the end of the day, you are the one who will answer for it. And so you need to make sure that people who in the middle of the night stumble across your brand or your business feel the way that you want them to feel, and I assume for most business owners that is that they feel comfortable, they feel welcomed, they feel, they understand everything, and if they dig deeper they can always learn more, is really the goal there.
Yeah. When I think about what you're talking about there, it kind of reminds me of the early days of my business brokering other people's amusement rides. In the beginning, all my clients were people who knew me or knew my dad.
Mhm.
But once I established a website, then it started to be people who never met me before, and many of them had a neutral or negative opinion about me because they had never met me before and because I had competitors in the market of brokering used amusement equipment. And so I had to do things to change those impressions through creating content, through building an email
Mhm.
list, through using social media and other things. So uh, that's that makes me feel like what you're talking about is before the internet, people did business face to face or at least within their own neighborhoods and communities, and now it's global. And you can't afford for anybody to visit your website and not feel welcome.
Yes, and it's even gone to a deeper level in recent years, because now AI is also explaining who you are and who your business is to people. And so, like one thing that we do is we do reverse training. So we do GEO, and so we will reverse engineer AI to the understanding of your business. You can actually, if you do it correctly, you can train all the AI platforms to accurately represent your business as well. Whereas, if you haven't done so, then they are just taking the copy that is out there and they are explaining your business now to people as well. So if people are in an area and they're searching, I need to find the best plumber in my city, and they are going through and they're going based off of reviews and they're going based off of your copy and all of those things. But it's you can either train them efficiently by having all of that information accessible, or you can actually talk to the platforms and train them about your services and what you do and why you do it and all of those things, so that when they are representing your business, even they are representing it properly.
So okay, so y'all heard the most important part there, right? That when you improve accessibility, you can train the AI bots to represent your business better to the people you want your business to be in front of.
Hmm.
That's a very important point, y'all, and it's something y'all have probably heard me or my other guests talk about before. So as I was listening to you talk about reverse engineering, it made me kind of think about how we used to worry about the Google and the search engines that,
Hmm.
if you wanted to know how you were doing, you could Google yourself. Or if you wanted to improve it, you could figure out what you could learn what the latest algorithm requirements were, or you could hire somebody who specialized in SEO. And it seems like you're saying that there's a similar thing nowadays for AI, where you can find out what AI thinks of you, and you can actually tell AI when it's wrong.
Yes, exactly. And you can do it more ways now than ever, because now social media is Google indexed. So everything you post on your business socials also goes to Google. You have your website that, if properly set up, can be indexed. You have, ads, you have reviews, you have all of these things that are accessible. But the thing is sometimes you have to sort of push AI to, learn new, if and especially if you are doing new efforts. If you're doing a new PR campaign and you are putting out a bunch of PR about your business, why you do it, all the things you're trying to get more well known, then you have to remember that AI doesn't frequently go in and double check what they already know. If they have if they've already researched and they already have sort of their spiel about you or your business, then sometimes you have to go in and you have to prompt them to update, to add these new things, to bring new things in. Every time somebody prompts them or asks them a question and your business is the solution, they don't necessarily go and pull all of the most relevant new data. They just pull what they already know. And so that's something that's important too, is forcing everybody to update to all of the efforts that you're making. And I think sometimes that's one thing that really frustrates business owners who are putting in a lot of work, who are, updating Google, they're posting, they're updating their website, they're getting PR out there, they're doing all the things, right? But it doesn't feel like anybody knows, because you have to make sure that you are pulling all the pieces together, that you are forcing people to understand this new interpretation, and that you are, telling people what is going on.
Okay, that's all very important information, and it adds to something I have known and been telling people for a long time. I don't know why I didn't make the further connection from the fact that your websites and your blogs are indexed to the fact that now social media content is also being indexed. I don't know why I
Mm-hmm.
didn't make that connection, considering how long I've been talking about the benefits of accessibility. But thank you, because it's always great when my guests can tell me something new or remind me of things that I should be paying more attention to. And so I really appreciate you mentioning that. So I assume that also applies to like uh, the the podcasting and streaming platforms like YouTube and those as well.
Yes, definitely, definitely. And that's something else that's important too, is one thing, the way that I like to explain it to people is, you have all of these different irons in the fire, right? And to you, they're all stresses. They're all things that need to get done that you don't have time for, right? You need to post, you need to get on, YouTube, you need to update your blog, you need to post more on LinkedIn, you need to, update your website, you need to update your Google. To you, they're all stresses, right? But what you have to think about is that to a new person, to a new consumer, they are looking at everything at once. And that's how they're judging if you are credible and if you are trusted. They are, wherever they find you, usually, on some social platform or some news article, right? And then they are going to go check out your website, right? And then they're going to scroll through your website. And then if your website passes the test, then they're going to move on to, your Google, and they're going to see, what do other people have to say about you? Then if you pass that test, then they're going to move on, and they're going to move on, they're going to move on. They are looking at the big picture at once. And that is how they are determining if you stay in their mind as someone to either work with or to trust or to think about, because sometimes it doesn't even happen the first day. Or if they find something somewhere that, pushes them out. They're like, this seems, a little untrustworthy. And unfortunately, today, with how many businesses there are out there that are, genuinely deserve to be untrustworthy, it's very easy to find those. And that's why it's important to make sure that, even if you have a bad review, write a polite, appropriate response to it, talking, all of that. It's important to think about how everything makes you look when you take a step back, not just, oh, I really like my website, but I really don't like this, or I really like this, but I really don't like this. But to really look at everything at once is the most important.
Okay. So the search engines and the AI bots, they can look at everything, or they can condense everything and just and deliver that to a person all at once. Whereas we're all struggling with all the various aspects, or let's say tactics, that we use to try to grow our presence and our brand.
Yes, everyone's struggling to keep up with showing up everywhere and doing everything, that we're not taking a moment to step back and think, okay, where does it really need the most help? And sometimes it's hard to explain to business owners that yes, social media is, you know, gold these days, but sometimes posting on social media can wait until you get the 3 recent bad reviews appropriately responded to, and make it right with them, or until you go and you update your website from 2007 to everything that you do now. And that's the biggest thing is, and a way that you can use AI too as a business owner, is sit down and say, okay, look at my business name across the board. Where am I showing up? How am I showing up? And what are the negative things and what are the positive things that are showing up in all of these places?
It's interesting you picked 2007 because that was the first year that I went online. It was when I built it with waymarketplace.com. And it's when I started brokering used rides. And in 2007, my website was bad. It was the colors were vivid. The pictures were all different sizes because I had no way of editing the images, just using what people sent me. And I've often said that my website back then was so bad that Ray Charles and Stevie Wonder could have argued over the brilliance of it. It was. I tell people if they look at it in archive.org to put on some sunglasses or kind of look at it out of the side of their eyes. Don't look at it. But the other thing about that website is I really haven't done much with it in several years because I've been focusing on other things, first coaching and then podcast guesting and then accessibility. But I find it's interesting to me that people still reach out to me from the website. It's more civilized now than it was 20 years ago, but they still reach out to me wanting to know if I'm still in that line of work, even though I probably haven't put new content on that site in years. I mean, 5 years or more. So
Yeah.
I must have been doing something right back then that the AI bots still appreciate, is all I can figure. Or it's the relationship aspect of it that you talked about earlier. So,
well, and also the credibility that time in the industry, that time doing what you've been doing holds. That holds a lot more power than a beautiful website that just went live that has no reviews, no people, no nothing. Actually, you being around, you growing, you having all of these things is more valuable in the long run than perfection with no substance.
yeah, well, we're never we're never even close to perfection, but we got substance all the way out there. I mean, there, I think I may have mentioned to you, I said this, I say this pretty often. More than once, coaches have told me that they know my brand is around authenticity, but maybe I could be a little less authentic. So, we don't have perfection here, but we definitely got substance.
And I'll say stay you, because it sometimes a PR person gets a little anxious at someone who is too real, because they can be interpreted in so many ways. But what I will say is that authenticity is going to be more valuable than perfection, and I think that is true for as far forward as I can see.
Yeah, we talked about that earlier, how AI is making so much feel the same, that the things that are unique and different are definitely going to stand out even more going forward. So that's a very comforting thought for a storyteller. You know, you mentioned that you thought you always thought in terms of marketing. I like to tell people I'm not a copywriter. I'm a storyteller, and I understand who I am, and either don't try to do what I'm not, or get other people to help me when I have to. You know.
Exactly. And what I will say too is that like that is a skill that I don't think AI can replace, which is true, genuine storytelling. That I cannot get them to replicate that. They just don't have the imagination. That is what drives, imagination and wonder and thought and creativity. That's something they can't replicate.
Well, I appreciate that. I basically just consider it the result of living a long, hard life. So now I wasn't sure if I should bring this up, but I thought you had a unique take to it that other people that might not have thought about. I really it I is you do have ADHD, and I thought it was funny when sent you my form under the section of the do you have a disability. I would love for you to explain your thought process, because I think that really helps people see things like ADHD in a way that they're not going to see by reading about it in most sources.
Well, I think, what it was I didn't expect to see, um, ADHD on the list as an option, to be honest. I was surprised. And, I feel like ADHD is one of those things where, one, I think it's getting a lot more normal to be diagnosed now, but I, do know that I wasn't told that I had it until I was like 19 years old. Um, and and I think just what it is it's ADHD is almost like a debilitating superpower. It is like it's like a superpower that like takes away at your life force while you're using it. Is like
Okay.
the best way to explain it, because you can come up with the most ingenious ideas, the most creative thoughts, the biggest plans, and when you really look at them, they all are somewhat good. Like, like if executed, they would be good. But the problem is that you come up with so many that you don't you have to almost like force yourself to finish what you're doing before you do this new thing. And your passion moves from one to the next so quickly that, by the time this one that you've done is like growing and needs like fostering, you are already on to something brand new. And so everything I tell my founders and business owners that I work with is because I tell myself the same thing, which is, like everything takes time. And that is the biggest thing that's hard for people, especially with ADHD to understand, is that it still takes time. Even if it is a great idea, or like if you did do it and you did it with passion and all of that, you have to keep going to really see it compound. And when asked, if I had a disability on the form, I think I said this even there, like I felt like, I didn't know, like if it was or if it wasn't. And that's just because of how I feel about it myself. But anyone who does have ADHD knows that feeling of just crippling, like you can't start anything. You have so many things that you want to do and that you should be doing and all of that you just don't know where to start at all. And and that is where, like, I can understand a lot of people that I work with, because I've met a lot of business owners who have ADHD of some kind, and they make the greatest founders because they're passionate, and they care, and they are always thinking and always developing, but they also I have the same struggle as me, which is waiting for, you know, the time to build, and waiting and consistently doing it, and wait and getting small wins and accepting small wins while the bigger wins come in.
Yes. One of the things that I've wondered about in my career is that I've been able to start many things without the usual paralyzing fear that most people have about how they're going to turn out or not turn out. And so I've always wondered, is there something I'm missing where I could explain this to other people to where they wouldn't be blocked by those fears of all the what ifs and actually just start doing the thing it is that they want to be doing. But I've never really come up with an answer to that. I just know that I've been blessed to meet Alex and Alicia at Podmatch because they've really helped me understand the whole concept of focusing, of saying no to distractions, even if the distractions sound really, really fun. And, well, you're laughing, so I'm sure you've been through that. And that the only way I'm ever going to see true success is to take one of the many things that I'm good at and focus in on that and make that my sole form of entrepreneurial work. And of course, I've told Alex the hard part with that is that it's easy. It would be easy to do that if you knew for sure which one of the many things that you were capable of doing would actually succeed. But since we don't know, the scariest thing is focusing in on one thing and eliminating all the other things.
That's a good point. What I have always done, and what I like to tell people that have that feeling as well, is just like the fear of like not succeeding in it, or being embarrassed, or any of the fears that keep us back is, and what I do is I will almost sometimes against my own will develop the entire thing. I will, and for me it looks a little different. It's, the logo and the branding and the website and all of it, right? And so then when it gets to the point of launch, I've already strategically made every decision where it's like, okay, well, I put all this work into it. Now if I don't, let the public see it, then it was a waste of time. And so that's what I like to tell people is like, okay, if you're scared of, the reality of launching it, just go ahead and build it in the background. Do it when you have time. Do it when you feel, inspired. Do it when you're feeling like you want to do it. And then one day you'll have everything ready to go. And the only thing you'll have to do is press live, and it'll all be done already. And so you won't have to worry the whole time about if it is or isn't successful, because you already know you've given it your all. And now if you don't share it with the world, then it's just sitting there.
That's some great advice. I think that that's something people should really take to heart. But I'm not really one of those do it in the background kind of people.
No, and I totally understand that. My business partner is the same way, where I will spend months like thinking and planning and building and all of this, and then he's like, oh, I built this all today, and it's out there. And I'm like, what? I'm like, what do you mean? I'm like, what are you talking about? And so it's also surrounding yourself with people who are different than you, but are the same as you in the inspiration and the devotion, but execute differently than you, not just the exact same as you, so that they can pick up where you sort of fall.
Similar strategies, but different tactics.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah, I find it interesting. I gave a talk on overcoming the fears and excuses of starting a podcast, and I followed Dave Jackson, who's a legend in helping people launch podcasts. And he spent 2 hours talking to people about how to create the perfect launch, how to have everything set and be ready, and have weeks of recordings already scheduled and all that. And I walked to the mic and I go, okay, Dave Jackson, great guy. He spent the last half a day telling you how to build a great podcast by being good and preparing. I'm going to tell you about having a great podcast by doing it badly first. You know what I mean?
And both of them have their strengths and their weaknesses, because then even when you perfectly plan everything, then when it comes time, you still find yourself learning things and changing things and adjusting and all of that. You just have to make sure that doesn't hold you back when you think you've done it all perfectly already.
Yeah, I'm also one of those people who's very good at good enough. I've rarely had troubles with perfectionism.
And that's good. That's real too. And
I imagine it doesn't suit the most people in the marketing world.
A lot of people in the marketing world think about it too much sometimes, because there's either so much money attached to it, or there's so much attention attached to it, that they sometimes overthink it. But the funny thing is even the most overthought campaigns will still have haters in the comments. So you can't get around it. No matter how perfect you are, there's still haters in the comments. So you just have to trust that you know why you're doing it, that you know why, that you are happy with it, and that you are satisfied with it, and then all the little haters won't bother you as much.
Yep, I've been pretty lucky as far as not having haters, and not that I want any, just in case there are trolls listening. But it is that is an important thing to remember: is you can do everything really, really well, and there are still going to be people who don't like you or don't like your work.
Mm-hmm. And that's why it all boils back to like what I said about not letting AI completely take over your brand, because you need to know deep down that you liked every idea, you liked everything you did. You made the decision to do everything that you did, so that if anything ever is problematic or anyone has a problem with it, at least you'll have, if nothing else, you'll know why you did it, and that you did it for a reason, and that you're happy with the fact that you did it anyway.
Well, I've enjoyed talking with you, Laura, and I appreciate all your information and experiences that you've shared with us today. Is there a central thought or two you'd like to leave the audience with before we finish?
Yeah, I think we've talked about so many different things. I think the biggest thing that I would like to sort of leave with is just, especially to anyone who has founded anything, trust yourself and trust why you started it and why you did it. And sometimes when it's not getting what you want, or it's not going where you thought it would go back to why you started it, and that will help ground you in how far you've come, in what you've accomplished, in what you're trying to do as a whole.
That is so very true. And when we either don't know our why, or lose track of what our why is, or start taking actions that aren't in line with our original why, that's when we usually really start to struggle, feel frustrated, and feel unhappy with the work we're doing.
Exactly.
All right. Well, people, y'all can connect with Lauren at reliablepr.net. I'll also have her social media links included, and the call to action link that I mentioned earlier that she usually shares, but I have trouble remembering all those links. So we'll put that in the description. I do hope you all have enjoyed our conversation today. I hope you learned from it. And I find it very encouraging that accessibility is even more important to building your brand and communicating with AI and search engines than even I thought it was. And I look forward to using some of the things that I've learned from Lauren today. I hope you do as well. You can find me at theaccessibilityadvantage.com. You can send an email to Maxwell at theaccessibilityadvantage.com. or you can find me on LinkedIn where I'm Maxwell Ivy. That's IV as in Victor EY. Um, if you are in need of a CRM, client relationship management software, I highly recommend Less Annoying CRM. It is easy enough for even this blind guy to use, and I have been part of their continued accessibility efforts the last couple of years. So I know that even if there's a problem with it now, they will fix it. So I hope y'all check out Less Annoying CRM and reach out to me if you want some help with improving accessibility within your organization or within the work of the clients that you represent. Uh, and until next time, please take care out there. I'm the blind blogger, Maxwell Ivy, and I'll talk to you again soon. Disabled people, we tell our friends and share to our social sites. Don't think about how hard it is. Just focus on those dollar signs. 'Cause accessibility ain't just for those with disabilities.
Item chooser menu 167 I-80 menu containing hidden bookmark. Item chooser menu 1 to 2 items end stream button. End stream button. End the stream and outro set up not end stream.